Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the Bond of Love series. Today, the Bond of Love series is presented by the Vaishnava Ministry, and my name is Tisha Mirage. Today, we have the wonderful opportunity to welcome Her Divine Grace, Mother Bakula, Devi Das. Mother Bakula, she's a longtime disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. She was raised in Guyana in a traditional Hindu family, and her father took great care that she wouldn't lose her Hindu ways. So through his contact with the devotees, he received a Back to Godhead magazine and a Vaishnava songbook, and this planted the seeds for Mother Bakula that later would blossom in her lifelong journey of Krishna consciousness. While attending college in Toronto, Mother Bakula began reading the Krishna Book, excuse me, and from there, her devotional life unfolded in remarkable ways. She's traveled the world extensively and rendered great service to Srila Prabhupada's mission. She's built a loving family along the way, and she continues to inspire me and many devotees up till today. She currently resides in Queens, New York. So through our conversation today, we'll hear a little bit about her extraordinary journey, the service that she's done, and her family life, and some of the lessons she's learned along the way. Before we welcome Mother Bakula and before we begin, she has asked to share with this interview why this interview is so meaningful for her and what she hopes everyone will take away from it. So please join me in welcoming Her Grace, Mother Bakula Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Tisha.
Krishna.
Thank you very much. Om Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharne Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne Om Vanchakalpatarubhishya Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare
I just want to begin with some words of gratitude. And since this is a forum for the female disciples of Srila Prabhupada, I just want to say aloud thank you to all of Srila Prabhupada's female disciples, those that are here and those who have departed also, who have dedicated their lives for helping to hold Srila Prabhupada's movement together when our male counterparts were not able to do so. So my heartfelt gratitude to all Srila Prabhupada's female disciples and possibly some grand disciples that helped to hold together Srila Prabhupada's movement. My deepest gratitude to all of you, each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother Bakula. That's so nice to hear. We appreciate you all so much. Why don't you tell us just a little bit background about your childhood and how you came to Krishna consciousness and some of those vivid memories from your early experiences.
All right. So I was brought up in Essequibo, Guyana, in a small island called Wakenham. And so I went to school. It was a primary school across the street from my house, so it was very close by. I would just walk across the street and I'd be in school. But then when it got to high school, after I finished grade school, there was no high school on the island. So my parents went to the mainland and allowed some relatives to keep me in order to attend high school. And then right after high school, shortly after I graduated, I actually moved to Toronto where I met my father. He had moved there a little bit earlier. And so from there, I went to college there. And so my father was gradually watching me in Toronto, and he was noticing that the Western habits were forming a part of my lifestyle, and he was not um, approving of that. And so And so he said to me, the direct words he said to me were, I want to show you something. Come and see what you are throwing away, how the Westerners are picking it up. And that was my first trip to the temple. He took me to the Hare Krishna temple on Gerrard Street in Toronto. At that time, the temple was located on Gerrard Street. And so about a year, we continued going to the temple, and I kept on practicing Krishna consciousness, reading the Krishna Book is the first books that I started to read. And so I would also listen to Srila Prabhupada's tapes, and I continued going on to the Sunday program with my father, and on some occasions, one of my uncles was also going along with us, and he later became a devotee also. And so I continued that for about a year, and then I finished my college. And my father was getting ready to go back to Guyana, and he was asking me what I wanted to do, if I wanted to get married, or I wanted, because someone was asking for my hand in marriage. And um, he I told him, no, I'd rather go to the temple. And so just before he left to go to Guyana, he took me to the temple, and I took some of my belongings. And there he introduced me to one Mataji. Her name is Prajna, and she is from Trinidad. And she was there, and he kind of entrusted me to her care while at the temple. So I moved in there. I moved into the temple in Toronto, and I didn't have much to offer to the temple. All I had was my gold jewelry, my bracelets, my chain, or my ring, whatever, earrings, whatever. So they said to me, well, you have to give that to the deities. So I did. I gave my jewelry to the deities. And one of the devotees there, her name was Rudrani. She was actually the devotee who took me out in Sankirtan. And so we went out in book distribution a few times. And then shortly after that, um, it it came to my knowledge that my visa was about to expire. And so I mentioned it to the temple president, who was Uttama Shloka, and Vishwakarma was the vice president. So I mentioned it to them, and they said, "Whoa, wow, don't worry. There's a devotee from New York. He's going to Guyana, and he's starting a temple there in Guyana. So you're going to go to Guyana, and you're going to assist him there." So that's how I left Toronto in about 1975, maybe about February, and I went back to Guyana, and I stayed there and continued preaching until later in 75, when there were other devotees who were coming from Trinidad, and they were assisting in the preaching there. At that time, the temple was in Georgetown, in a little city called South Rumfeld, a little town, not a city, but a little town called South Rumfeld. And that's like maybe 20 minutes from the main city, Georgetown. And so we would usually go into Georgetown to do Harinam Sankirtan, which was one of the most important preaching events that were going on. And then, of course, book distribution, which Srila Prabhupada had encouraged throughout his life. So we would go out on book distribution, and the mode of book distribution was house to house book distribution. So we'd walk house to house in different villages and towns and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books and come back home at the end of the day. So after Mangalarti, we would chant japa, and then there would be greeting of the deity. Of course, at that time, it's not an elaborate setting. It's a very simple setting, but the same procedures went on. And then there was Guru Puja, then Bhagavatam class, and then prasadam. So during the class, some devotees would be cooking, and many occasions I would also be doing some of the cooking that was going on, assisting with the cooking during class. And then prasadam, and then we'd pack our book bags and go out in Sankirtan, either book distribution, house to house, or Harinam Sankirtan. Sometimes we'd go to the marketplaces also. So that went on for several months. And then one of the devotees who came from Trinidad wanted to marry me. And there was an attorney in Georgetown who had assisted Vaikuntanath in the 1960s, maybe 1968, when Vaikuntanath and Saradiya Mataji went to Georgetown to present Srila Prabhupada's teachings and books. And so he was assisting them, and he's the one who got the house that we were using as a temple. And so he heard that there was one devotee who wanted to marry me, and he did not approve of it. And so he sent a telegram to my father, and he told my father that your daughter is is planning to get married to this devotee guy, and of course my father would not approve also. So he came soon after my father came to the temple, and he took me home. So when he took me home, I all like the important people in the community were coming over to talk to me, and saying to me, are you sure that you want to do this kind of life? That it is a very difficult kind of life. You should consider what you're doing. And so they were trying to talk me out of Krishna consciousness. So I was thinking that at times there were some devotees who had to go. Their parents were getting um, these um, these people to brainwash their children and bring them back to normal life. And so,
Yes.
and so I was thinking how similar that was to what I was going through, because they didn't want me to stay with Krishna consciousness. They wanted me to kind of go back to my own Hindu ways. So then what I did is I was chanting japa at home, and I was doing Tulsi Puja. And of course, I was engaging my other siblings along with that. And so what I did is I wrote a letter to the GBC, who at that time was Sri Dayananda Maharaj. And so Sri Dayananda Maharaj, he got the letter, and then he came to Guyana. He was not in Guyana, and he came to Guyana. And along with him, the co-GBC Jagajivan Prabhu, he also came with him. And at the temple, they were hatching up a plan of how to get me back to the temple. And so they said that there were two devotees. There was Haridas and there was Bhuttadi Prabhu. That one of them should get married to me so that I can get to come back to the temple. And so what happened was, as they were leaving the temple, they made that plan. And as they were leaving the temple, the devotee who became my husband later, Haridas, he was not initiated at that time. He heard Srila Prabhupada talking about marriage and the importance of marriage. And so he took that as an indication that Srila Prabhupada was directly instructing him about marriage. And so they came to my house, and in order to get to my house from the city, Georgetown, it's a long it's a long ride on a boat, a ferry boat, a huge boat. And so it's like a 2 hour ride. And then after that, there's another 2 hour ride in a taxi or a car or a bus through really bad road with large potholes. And so they eventually reached there, and they met with my father, who was not home at the time but came later. And so they asked my father, Mr. Bart, what are you going to do with, at that time my name was Yvonne. So what are you going to do with Yvonne? He says, well, I'm going to get her married. And so they came up with their proposal, what they had. And so they asked me, who do I want to marry? And then I said, Hari does. And so that's how that part of my Krishna conscious life went on. And then so after I left with them and I came back to the temple, and then later on during that week we did the legal wedding in Guyana, in Georgetown, and then in Trinidad later on we had the wedding sacrifice, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. It's so fascinating to me how marriages happened and how surrendered you were to the process. But I'm just curious, not to veer too off topic. During that time in the 70s in Guyana, was the Jim Jones thing was happening. Were you
And
aware? Were you aware? Was that
yeah,
at that
my
same
father would
time?
usually talk about it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were
Interesting.
aware of that. Yeah.
Um, I mean, just I can imagine how that was for you to surrender and pick someone, and immediately you're married, family life begins, and all of your life completely changes. Um, Kudos to you for
Yes.
making it through that. But when we were talking last night, you were telling us the story about the birth of your children, which is both two so fascinating stories. So why don't we veer to that and you share with us about the birth of your first child?
Okay. So, um, in 1978, we left Trinidad. So I had asked my husband, I said to him, I would like you to come to the United States and see how Krishna consciousness is being practiced by the devotees there. Because when you're tucked away in Trinidad or Guyana, you don't have much of an exposure, only the devotees who come to visit. And so I wanted him to see on a larger scale how Krishna consciousness was being practiced. So he mentioned to the GBC, who was Adi Keshava at that time, and Adi Keshava, he was Swami at that time. He said he went to the embassy in Port of Spain, Trinidad, and he got a visa for us. And so soon after that, we actually came to the United States, and at that time, in '78, the temple was at 340 West 55th Street. So we went to the temple there, and we got a room on the ninth floor, and we stayed in that room. But when we arrived, I was already pregnant and not too far away from childbirth. And so soon after, we were attending all the programs and morning programs, and my husband got a job at the Govinda's restaurant, which was existing in the basement of the building. And so he worked there during the day, and sometimes I would go and help him. But soon after that, I gave birth to my son, Mangalarti, and he was born on November 26th of 78. And on that day, it was the first Vyasa Puj of Srila Satsvarup Maharaj, who we later took second initiation from. And so um, during the morning when I got up and I got dressed to go, took shower and got dressed to go down to the Mangalarti, and I mentioned to my husband that, Prabhu, I don't think I will be able to make it down to Arti. Please go alone. And so he did. And when he came back up, the child was already born, and so immediately he ran off to Satsur Maharaj and he said, "Oh wow, I have a son, just took birth, and could you please give him a name, Maharaj?" And so Maharaj says, "Oh wow, um, I just had another devotee who called me, and they had a son in Vancouver, and named him Mangal. But I'll name your son Mangalarti. I'll give him the full name." And so that's how he got that name. And so soon after, because it was Satsvarup Maharaj's first Vyasa Puja, there were devotees who were attending the program from several different places also. And so the Matajis came up to give their blessings. And so it was quite a spectacular scene.
So you had your first child in the temple building there with a
In the building.
midwife. Yeah,
Yeah,
while Mangala Arati was going
I
on.
forgot to mention to you that later on, Mother Irmala, who was living on the same floor, she had her babies also delivered at the temple by a midwife. And so when she saw my dilemma, she was so kind that she actually informed me that she would call her midwife over and let her take care of me. And so she did that. And Mother Irmela was so helpful because I had not come from Trinidad for a very long time, and all the baby clothing that I brought with me, they were all summer clothing
Oh,
because you know
yes.
how hot it is in Trinidad.
Yes.
And so I had no warm clothing.
Uh,
So this November, it's winter. It's very cold. And so she shared with me some of her clothing from her babies, and that's what I used because I did not go shopping. And of course, we didn't have a lot of money.
yeah.
That was something we didn't have a lot of. And
Yeah.
so um, that's, I just want to be so grateful to her.
Yeah. It's so beautiful that you were all there together supporting each other and still all of your time serving Srila Prabhupada and Krishna
Yep.
consciousness. So that's great. Um, how many children do you have altogether?
I have 5.
You have 5 children.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to make any, I don't want to neglect or miss any of them, but the story of what happened with your second child is just so incredible. So I hope that you'll share that with us too, if you don't mind.
Okay. I don't mind. I can share it with you. So my second child, her name is Shringara, also given by Satsuru Maharaj, because she was born during that time, Shringara Arti time. And so he named her. And so when she was born in December in 1980, 2 years later. And so she was born with a little cough. And so my husband mentioned that he has a newborn baby and she has a cough to one of the doctors who would come to the Sunday program. And so he said to my husband, please take the child to the hospital. There's nothing he can do. And so later that Sunday night, um, my husband must have gone up to Adikeshwar Maharaj and said to him that he needs to take the child to the hospital. So he lent us a temple car, and my husband had a driver, a devotee who was living next to us on the 9th floor. Um, and he drove us there. And so I'm in the ER and I'm waiting to be seen by the doctor. So I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. And finally we were called into a room to see for the doctor to see the baby and me. And so when we were called into the room, as soon as we settled in, an announcement came through the loudspeaker. Emergency, emergency. Please leave what you are doing and come now. And so immediately the doctor left the room, and my husband, he's claustrophobic, so he immediately got stirred up and he's like, what's going on? I want to know. And so he ran out the room behind the doctor to see what's happening. And he followed her through some doors that just open and close. And so he went through those doors and he saw on a stretcher there was somebody lying down completely naked. No idea who it was, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so they started talking to each other. The doctors started talking, and then someone mentioned that that was John Lennon on the stretcher. He was just shot in Central Park, somewhere around that area, and he was brought to the hospital. So everybody knows that John Lennon is a huge, big time celebrity. And so immediately the news started spreading on the radio and television. And so all around the hospital, the fans were coming in to see him on the outside. And
Yeah.
so they had to close off the entire hospital. so that people wouldn't keep coming in. And all the fans were singing, and the song they were singing is, "All we are saying is give peace a chance." And so they were just singing that and singing and singing, and they closed off the hospital, and we are in the hospital being closed off. News reporters are coming, and the news reporters, they interviewed my husband, and he told what he saw. And I don't remember the name of the other devotee who was there, but I think he was also interviewed, and the devotees saw the interview on the on the news, and they were like, wow, the devotees were there. But remember, always remember how things are happening. Srila Prabhupada was staying in John Lennon's house in England and preaching to them. So it's amazing when Vaikunthanath also went to Trinidad to preach. He was thinking, "Oh, I am going to a land far away, and we will be the first ones to preach there." When he went there, the first place he went to was Simbunat Kapildeo at the St. James Mandir. And so he went there, and what do you think Simbunat Kapildeo shows Vaikuntanath? A set of Srimad Bhagavatam books from Srila Prabhupada. So then Srila Prabhupada was communicating with these people in Trinidad because he wanted to go there. And Vaikuntanath and Sardiya could not believe it. They could not believe that Srila Prabhupada was trailblazing their path. So in the same way, we see John Lennon he had Prabhupada in his house. It's by no accident that a devotee was by his side when he gave up his body.
Yeah.
So it's so amazing the way how Srila Prabhupada works. It's just unbelievable. I mean, we could have gone there an hour later and not be there for that.
Yeah.
But how Krishna works is just unbelievable. How the pure devotee works, how Srila Prabhupada works is just beyond our imagination.
Yes, yes. He doesn't, Srila Prabhupada doesn't forget any of us. Yes,
At
or
all.
all.
And
Yes.
Krishna Krishna could have arranged that it's not hard for Krishna to arrange that we went there half an hour later or even 10 minutes later. And that would not have been there,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
great. So, what a great story to remember. Gives one some encouragement and enthusiasm that, Srila Prabhupada will be there for us and for you.
All
So
the
that's
time.
so your child turned out the cough was okay. It wasn't anything serious, or how
It
did that
was
play
it
out?
wasn't, but they kept her in the hospital and treated her. She was in an incubator, and because they probably thought that she was too small, and so um they kept her, and I would usually go and breastfeed her or take milk for her and take care of her during the day.
Yes, so much to have in your young life. So you mentioned that you had five children, but I know you also had an amazing career. So tell us a little bit about that part of your life, your career, serving Krishna, serving Srila Prabhupada, and raising five children.
Yeah. Um so it After the temple closed in 55th Street in 1980, it became a very difficult situation for us because we did not know how to survive outside because we were in temples from a teenager, right? And so now the temple is sold and we are asked to go find our own. And so we struggled for a very long time. And I we moved to Long Island Temple, where Darshi Prabhu was doing a bonsai business, and he would employ my husband to work. And at one point, we moved to West Virginia, and in West Virginia, that didn't work out too good because while we were in the Caribbean, we were doing business with a devotee named Sulochan there. And Sulochan later became very disagreeable to Kirtananda Swami. And so when we went there, everyone knew that I was doing business with Sulochan. And so we were not very welcome there. So I was asked to leave New Vrindavan. And so I went to Gitanagari, and from Gitanagari we came back to New York, but it was quite a struggle. And so anyway, there was a devotee named Varnashram. He's also from Guyana, and he was doing a fruit business on the streets. He would set up like fruit carts. And so he hooked us up, and we were also doing fruits for quite a few years, and we were doing pretty well. So there were days where I'd make like $1,000, and that's a lot of money at that time.
Yeah.
And so we did pretty good. And after some time, it was difficult for me to stay out on the street and tolerate the dust in my eyes, and it was getting red. And so I told my husband, okay, I want to go back to school, and I want to shift careers from doing fruit vending to a profession. So I went back to school. I went to Long Island University, and I went into education. I tried to do pharmacy, but with a family, it was too difficult to do pharmacy. So I branched off to education, which was much easier. And so I did education, and I uh, graduated with my bachelor's in science and bio, and then I got my master's in science also. And then I started teaching in 1999 in a technical high school in the Bronx, Samuel Gompers High School. And then I taught there for several years, and then I moved to Brooklyn, where I continued teaching. And what did I teach? I taught biology or living environment. That was my main subject area. And then I moved around to different schools. And then finally, COVID came around. I actually ended up in Bayside High School after some time in Queens, New York. And so COVID came around, and then they were forcing us to take the shots, and I didn't want to take the shots. And so I ended up teaching online for some time. And then they wanted me to do office duties, and I was kind of bored with that. I didn't want to do office duties anymore. And well, not really office duties, but like lesson planning and different things, but it was like the same thing all day long. And I was just so tired of that. I couldn't tolerate doing it because you were just sitting there and not doing anything else. And that's not what I really wanted to do. And so I applied for my retirement, and I retired from my career. And here, that's where I am now. So I'm actually still teaching, but I'm teaching adults, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. So all that time you went back to school, you had this teaching career, and you were raising your family, and I imagine that was very difficult. So if have any bits of wisdom or advice for how you negotiated and maneuvered through all that, maybe you can share how you survived and how you were successful at that.
Yeah, I can't I give my heads up to mothers who raise families alone, because I knew how hard it was for me. And without the
Mhm.
support of my husband, it would have been impossible for me to
Right.
do this, because I have a large family. I have 5 children. And so the way the home was structured is that everyone would rise, and first thing is they go to the temple room. We had a room where we have the deities, and we kept that throughout our life. There was always a space for the deities, and everyone would go there first thing, and then go off to whatever they have to do. So there was arti every day. Food was being offered to the deity every day. The kids were actually seeing our lifestyle. We were not telling them that this is what you have to do. But we were showing them, we were observing Ekadasi, we were observing all the holy days. These were things that were important. And so when the kids see the home that is structured like that, they have no choice. They have no choice. It's not that you are going to tell the kids this is what you need to do and this do this and do this, and they're seeing a different thing at home. No,
Right.
that was never the case, right? They had an example at home that they would see how we were living, and I would cook every single day. I cooked.
Wow.
I would not buy food outside. It was a rare thing that we would buy food outside or eat out. And so that took up quite a bit of my time because I did not believe in eating out.
Mhm.
And sometimes the kids would, I don't know, maybe they didn't like my cooking or something, but as soon I would serve them prasadam at the table, and as soon as I stepped out to the kitchen, the table was in the kitchen, they would they told me years later they would hide the prasadam in the washer. They would throw it out. They would throw it out through the window, and and when I came back, I would see an empty plate, and I said, "Oh wow, you ate all your prasad." So there was actually one devotee. He was a swami at that time. I do not remember his name, but he came to my house, and he went through my entire refrigerator, and God knows
Woo.
what he was looking for. Right?
Mm.
He went through my freezer. And he said to my husband later on, he said, "You guys are actually following, eh? You." He was looking to see if he would find something. We had no onion and no garlic. We had no meat, no fish, no eggs. And
Mhm.
so he commented to my husband that, "Oh, you guys are really actually following." And he stayed with us for a little while, and so he had the opportunity to go through the refrigerator when we are not home, and so he said that. Yep. So that was one of the ways that we did that, and many times the japa the japa that I chanted was on the way to work or to school,
Mhm. Mhm.
and because that was the time that I had most free time in order to do japa. And reading, I was unable to concentrate on reading Srila Prabhupada's books during those times. And that's why at this time now, I am trying to utilize a little bit of time with a little bit of vision that I have left to study Srila Prabhupada's books to the greatest detail.
Oh, it's so amazing. I mean, it sounds impossible to me that you raised five children, you fed them prasadam every night, whether they ate it or not. They still got the blessings
Yes.
and everything. So that's amazing. It's so great to hear your story. Speaking of Srila Prabhupada, I know you didn't have direct association with Srila Prabhupada, but tell us a little bit about your relationship with Srila Prabhupada over the years and how you've worked to maintain and develop that.
So when I went to the temple in Toronto, and I was reading Srila Prabhupada's books and listening to lectures. In one of the lectures, I actually heard Srila Prabhupada quoting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stating that the way you know a great devotee is that he never praises himself. So I'm looking through all the books that I'm reading. At that time, it was the Krishna Book. I'm looking through the Krishna Book. I'm listening to more lectures, and I'm trying to find out, is Srila Prabhupada praising himself?
Mm.
Is he praising himself for any of the accomplishments he had? And I could find nowhere until today. I'm still looking and have not found a single place where Srila Prabhupada is bragging about his accomplishments. Nowhere.
Mm.
And so that was something that really, really inspired me about Srila Prabhupada.
Mhm.
Doing so much for Krishna and for his spiritual master, and never at one moment taking credit for it. always
Yes.
giving all credit to Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. So that was one of the main things that really, really inspired me about Prabhupada.
Yeah. And so in your spiritual practices, have you done that? Just offered everything to Srila Prabhupada and served in that way?
I'm not going to say I've done that. I'm going to say I
You
tried to do
strive,
that. Yeah,
strive to do
I
that.
tried to do that, and whatever I do, I always try to see, is it within the realm of devotional service? Is it within the four regulative principles? Am I operating through that?
Yes.
And so I always try my very best to not go anywhere that is outside of the four regulative principles,
That's so
even though I've
beautiful.
been accused of that several times,
Yeah.
but never have I.
That's what matters. You never have. Um,
Yeah.
but it just dawned on me about your name, Bakula. It's a tree, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
How did you get that name? I like it. It's so nice.
Srila Prabhupada sent that name for us. So Srila Prabhupada, um, when before we got initiation in 1976, my husband sent a telegram to Srila Prabhupada and told him how he got his name. So I don't know if you know the process of name giving in the Caribbean in Hindu families, but when the child is born, the parents go to the Pandit, and the
Yeah.
Pandit opens up a book called the Patra, and the Patra gives them a clue as to how the child should be named. And they
Mm,
give the first syllables of the name. And then you can coordinate the name from those syllables that are given to you. According to the time and the place of the birth, all of these things are taken into consideration. And so my husband told Srila Prabhupada, this name was given to me by the Pandit. And so please give me a name that correlates with that name. And so we were informed later by Bir Krishna Maharaj that Srila Prabhupada personally selected names for us and personally chanted on our japa beads. And
oh, good.
so those names were chosen by Srila Prabhupada. How he did that, I do not know. I know my middle name begins with B, Bhagpati, and that's the name from the Patra. So probably that was one impetus for him to give me that name. I am not sure. And my husband, he got his name Surotama from Srila Prabhupada, and his name before was
Oh, interesting.
Lomas Maharaj, and so those names, um, I don't know what caused him to give us those names, but those were the names he selected for us.
But that's what a great gift that you have that from Srila Prabhupada. And you chanted on your
Um,
beads. Do you still have
yes,
those beads?
I do not have those beads because there was a fire in my house in Trinidad that burned everything down.
Oh,
So
wow.
I didn't have those beads.
Wow.
And
It's
yeah, Bakula is the name of the tree that Haridas Thakur chanted under in Puri, right? And it gives off a small, fragrant flower, very small flower.
yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. So you lost a house in a fire, so many things
Yeah.
in your life. So after all of these years and all these experiences, is there something you can tell us that's helped you keep your faith in Krishna consciousness and staying the course on this path?
Yes. I use as a guideline one of the very famous quotes by Srila Prabhupada where he says, books are the basis, preaching is the essence, utility is the force, and no, utility is the principle, and purity is the force.
Mm.
So, utilizing those four principles from Srila Prabhupada, I use that to inspire me all the time and to keep me going in Krishna consciousness.
Could you say that again? What was the four?
Utility is the principle.
Uh-huh.
Books are the basis.
Books are the basis.
Preaching is the essence.
Right.
And purity is the force.
That's amazing. I hope I remember that. That sounds great. So how, if you had to speak to the young devotees in Krishna consciousness right now, what would you want them to know, or what would you want them to take away from your example?
I would want them to take away that the gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us in this age of Kali is unparalleled. There is nothing that they can get that can surpass this.
Mm-hmm.
And if somehow or the other they can apply it to their lives and keep it as the main focus as they gradually advance in age, it would be the greatest benediction for their life. The greatest. The greatest. We, in the beginning, we do not know what we're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
But as we continue to practice and we see the depth of Krishna consciousness and the value that it offers, there is nothing to surpass it.
Yes. Yeah.
There is nothing to surpass it. We are fortunate to be a part of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada.
Yes. In
We
Kali
are
Yuga.
very, very, very fortunate.
Yeah. So, Mother Bakula, you've spent your whole life serving in this mission, but I'm just curious about the future. What is there anything else you really want to accomplish, or what else? Where do you see things going now for yourself?
Yes, I want to continue preaching. I want to continue preaching to as many people as I can reach out to.
Mm-hmm.
Srila Prabhupada showed us by his very life example. To the very last moment, he was preaching and preaching and preaching. To his very last breath. And so, as much as Krishna would allow me in this body, I would like to continue preaching. I'm doing a little bit of writing, but that is very insignificant compared to what others have contributed. But maybe a little bit of writing also.
That sounds great. I'm so happy to have your association, and I hope to meet you in person. But now that we're coming to the end of the interview, if there's anything else you want to say, or things that we've missed, that you want to share, I would welcome you to do that.
I just wanted to share out that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission will go on for the next 10,000 years. If we are a part of it or not, it will go on. But it is to our advantage if we take part and assist Srila Prabhupada in this mission of executing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, in which the holy name is to be heard and sung in every town and village. And if we can be a part of assisting to get this mission on the road, it is the greatest thing for our human life. The only opportunity in which we can serve the Lord isn't through the human form of life. And if somehow or the other we can assist in Mahaprabhu's mission, please, every one of us, let us do our part.
Yes, so beautiful, for sure. It's encouraging, and so happy to be a part of it with you and everyone listening.
Thank you for the opportunity to
You're
be with
welcome.
you and to be able to express.
Thank you. It's so great. I hope everyone will follow Vaishnavi Ministry and the Bond of Love series moving forward. And so thank you so very much.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Rukmini Mata.
Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.